The plains had no mercy once winter decided to show its teeth by late afternoon. The sky over Wyoming territory had turned the color of old iron, heavy and low, pressing down on the land as if it meant to crush everything beneath it. Snow drifted sideways across the open range, erasing fences, trails, and even the horizon itself. What had once been endless, brown earth and pale grass was now a rolling ocean of white, broken only by wind-carved ridges and the occasional dead tree clawing at the sky. The wagon should never have been out here. Its wheels groaned as they cut shallow trenches through the snow, the horses snorting steam into the freezing air. Inside the wagon, bundled in wool and fear, sat Eleanor Hale, her fingers clenched around the edge of the bench as the storm howled like a living thing. Every gust rocked the wagon harder, and every mile felt like a gamble with death. She had begged the driver to turn back hours ago, but men on the frontier had a habit of believing they could outlast nature. That mistake was about to cost her everything. The blizzard struck without warning. One moment, the road was barely visible beneath the snow. The next, it vanished entirely. The lead horse screamed a sharp, panicked sound, and the wagon lurched violently to the side. Eleanor was thrown against the wooden frame as the wheels hit something. Hidden beneath the snow, a buried washout, carved deep by autumn floods and now masked by winter's deception. Wood cracked, metal screamed, the wagon flipped. Eleanor felt weightless for a heartbeat. Then pain exploded through her body as the world turned upside down. The roof collapsed inward, crushing the air from her lungs. Snow poured in through shattered boards, filling her mouth, her nose, her ears. Darkness closed in as the storm swallowed the wreckage whole. She tried to scream. No sound came. Above her, the blizzard erased all traces of the road, the wagon, and the life she'd known just moments before. Miles away, Caleb Rourke reined in his horse as the wind shifted. Caleb had survived 40 winters on the frontier, and something in the air told him this storm was different. He pulled his coat tighter, the heavy canvas stiff with ice, and scanned the white void ahead. The ranch lay behind him, safety, warmth, a fire waiting. But instinct tugged him forward instead. That instinct had saved his life more than once. His horse, a scarred bay named Iron, stamped nervously. Caleb leaned down and pressed a gloved hand against the animal's neck, feeling the tension in the muscles. "Easy, boy," he muttered. "We're not running yet." Then he heard it. Not a voice, the storm swallowed those, but something wrong in the silence. A shape where there shouldn't be one. A dark line half buried beneath the snow. Caleb dismounted, boots sinking deep as he trudged forward. The wind cut at his face like broken glass. As he wiped snow from his eyes, the shape resolved into shattered wood and twisted iron. Wagon. Half buried, crushed, forgotten by the storm. His jaw tightened. "No," he said quietly. "Damn it all." Caleb dropped to his knees and began digging with bare hands, tossing snow aside until his fingers burned numb. He worked fast, breathing hard, ignoring the way the cold gnawed at his bones. The storm wasn't slowing. If anything, it was closing in, eager to finish what it had started. Then he heard it. A faint sound. A breath. Caleb froze. He dug harder. Wood gave way, splintering under his weight. He ripped apart broken boards until he found her, pinned beneath the wreckage, her face pale beneath a mask of snow, eyes fluttering weakly as she fought to stay conscious. She was alive. "Hey," Caleb said, his voice rough but steady. "Stay with me. You hear?" Her lips trembled. No sound came out. Caleb braced his shoulder against a beam and shoved with everything he had. Pain tore through his back, but the wood shifted just enough. He slid his arms beneath her, careful despite the urgency, and dragged her free from the crushed wagon. The storm roared its protest. Caleb wrapped her in his coat, pulling her against his chest, shielding her from the wind. She was lighter than he expected, too light and cold in a way that frightened him. "You're not dying out here," he growled into the storm. "Not today." He mounted Iron with her cradled in one arm and turned back toward the ranch, riding blind through the blizzard, guided only by memory and stubborn will. Behind them, the wagon vanished beneath the snow, as if it had never existed at all. The ranch lights appeared just as Caleb's strength began to fail. He carried her inside, laid her near the fire, and worked with quiet urgency, warming her hands, forcing small sips of water between her lips, watching her chest rise and fall. When her eyes finally opened, they locked onto his. Fear flickered there, and something else. "You're safe," Caleb said softly. "Storm nearly took you, but it didn't win." She swallowed, voice barely a whisper. "What, did you come?" Caleb looked away, jaw tight. Because someone had to. Outside, the blizzard raged on, and far beyond the ranch. Men who wanted Eleanor silenced were already searching the snow. The blizzard did not end when the door closed. It only changed its shape. Inside the ranch house, the wind howled through the cracks in the timber walls, rattling the windows like fists pounding for entry. Snow hissed against the glass, piling high, burying the world outside. The fire in the hearth burned bright, but it fought a losing battle against the cold that had soaked into Eleanor Hale's bones. She drifted in and out of sleep. Each time her eyes fluttered open, she saw the same thing, a low-beamed ceiling darkened by smoke, shadows dancing across the walls, and a man sitting nearby, watching the fire like it might betray him if he looked away too long. Caleb Rourke did not sleep. He sat in a chair pulled close to the hearth, elbows on his knees, hands clasped together as if holding himself in place. Every sound made his head lift. Every gust of wind sharpened his gaze toward the door. He had lived too long on the frontier to believe danger announced itself politely. The woman he'd dragged out of the wreckage was trouble. He felt it in his gut. But when Eleanor stirred again, letting out a faint, shaky breath, he was on his feet in an instant. "You're still with us," he said quietly. Her eyes focused slowly this time, grey-blue and sharp, despite the exhaustion weighing them down. She swallowed, then winced as pain rippled through her. "Where am I?" "My ranch," Caleb replied. "You were near froze solid when I found you." Her brow furrowed, memory returning in fragments. Snow, the scream of horses, the world turning upside down. "The wagon," she whispered. "Gone," he said. "Storm took it." Her jaw tightened, as if she were biting back something she didn't want to say. She pulled the blanket tighter around herself, studying him with a caution that felt out of place for someone who'd nearly died. "Why help me?" she asked. Caleb met her gaze. "Because I was there." That answer didn't satisfy either of them. By morning, the blizzard still ruled the land. Snow drifts swallowed fences and stacked against the barn walls like frozen waves. The sky remained low and unforgiving, pressing the ranch into isolation. No riders, no neighbors, no help, just the two of them. Caleb moved through his morning chores with the same methodical rhythm he'd used for years, checking the animals, breaking ice in the troughs, reinforcing doors against the wind. Yet his attention kept drifting back to the house, to the woman inside who carried secrets heavier than the storm. When he returned, Eleanor was sitting upright now. Her color improved, but her eyes still wary. "You should be resting," he said. "I've rested enough," she replied. "And I don't like not knowing where I am, or who I'm with." "Fair enough." "Caleb Rourke," he said. "This ranch is mine. Has been for 12 years. She nodded slowly. "Eleanor Hale." The name landed wrong. Caleb didn't react, but something behind his eyes hardened. He turned away, pretending to busy himself with the kettle. "You're a long way from the nearest town, Miss Hale," he said. "What were you doing out there in a storm like that?" Eleanor hesitated. Outside, the wind screamed. "I was headed west," she said carefully. "To start over." Caleb snorted. "That's what everyone says." Her gaze sharpened. "And you? What are you hiding from out here?" The question struck closer than she knew. Caleb poured hot water into a tin cup, the steam fogging his face. "This land doesn't ask questions," he said. "That's why I like it." Eleanor studied him for a long moment, then looked away. "I didn't expect to survive," she said softly. "When the wagon tipped, I thought that was it." Caleb handed her the cup. Their fingers brushed, brief, accidental, and both pulled back as if burned. Something unspoken lingered in the air. The first sign of trouble came just after noon. Iron, Caleb's horse, began to snort and stamp in the corral, ears pinned back, eyes rolling toward the tree line. The ranch dogs raised their heads, low growls rumbling in their chests. Caleb stepped onto the porch, scanning the white expanse. Tracks. Fresh. Not from the storm, from men who knew how to move in it. His hand curled slowly into a fist. He went back inside, closing the door with deliberate care. "Eleanor," he said, "you need to tell me something now." She looked up, startled by the tension in his voice. "Who's looking for you?" Silence stretched between them. Then she exhaled, shoulders sagging, as if the weight she carried had finally become too heavy. "I testified," she said, "against men who didn't like hearing the truth." Caleb's expression darkened. "What kind of men?" "The kind who wear badges by day," she replied, voice shaking, "and do their killing in the dark." That did it. Caleb turned to the window, peering through frost-laced glass at the endless white. He had crossed paths with that kind before, men who believed the law belonged to them, men who didn't forget, and didn't forgive. "How many?" he asked. "I don't know," Eleanor whispered. "But they won't stop." A sharp knock struck the door. Once, then again. The sound echoed through the small house like a gunshot. Caleb's jaw clenched. He reached for the coat hanging by the door, slipping it on slowly, buying himself time to think. Outside, a voice carried through the storm. "Rourke, we know you're in there." Caleb closed his eyes briefly. So they knew him too. He glanced back at Eleanor, fear etched across her face, and beneath it resolve. She straightened her shoulders. "I won't run any more," she said. "If they want me, I'll face them." Caleb shook his head. "Not like this." He stepped toward the door, then stopped. Protecting her meant defying men with power, reach, and no conscience. Turning her over meant living the rest of his life, knowing exactly what he'd allowed. The frontier had a way of forcing choices no man wanted to make. Caleb pulled the door open just enough to face the storm, and the silhouettes of riders waiting beyond it.